Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Today we are breaking down 3 S-tier solo LMG builds for Title Update 20, which includes the best gear pieces, weapons, specializations, and playstyle for each setup. The key to an amazing LMG build is sustained DPS, and each build on today's list is built off of this principle, offering a unique playstyle per build, which includes rate of fire buffs, quick reload speeds, high DPS, and status effects for crowd control. Each LMG build is carefully crafted to provide multiple sources of damage for your agent, allowing you to go toe-to-toe with any threat in Washington, D.C. This is the perfect blueprint for anyone that wants to make powerful LMG builds in the Division 2. This first LMG build is all about stacking rate of fire and crit hit damage to help you shred through enemy health bars. Now, the easiest way to do this is by using the Umbra Initiative gear set, which allows you to gain stacks when you're in and out of cover. The key to high DPS on this build is all about timing. While you're in cover, you'll be able to increase your rate of fire and crit hit damage within a short amount of time, and when you get back into cover, you can regen your armor over time. Thanks to the Umbra Initiative chest piece, you have the ability to achieve 30% extra rate of fire and 100% extra crit hit damage on your build. When you combine this with the Iron Lung Exotic LMG that has 800 base RPM, you'll find it incredibly easy to eliminate enemies in less than a second. The Iron Lung Exotic is one of the best exotics in the Division 2 because it offers high damage, high rate of fire, and the Ardent talent, which lets you ignite enemies, eliminating their ability to ADS and fire back. This combination is incredibly useful against named enemies since their health pool is higher, allowing you to take advantage of the burn. Now, the one issue I found with the Iron Lung, however, is the reload speed. I managed to solve this problem by turning the build into a hybrid, and it was incredibly easy to do this thanks to the Ninja Bike Backpack, Technician, and the Picaros holster. Thanks to the 4 skill tiers on this build, you'll be able to equip a tier 4 booster hive, which will increase your weapon handling by almost 50%. This means your reload speed, accuracy, and stability will increase, making your Iron Lung Exotic even deadlier when combined with the insane RPM and crit damage buffs from Umbra Initiative. At skill tier 4, your booster hive will have an incredibly wide radius, allowing you to utilize the skill from anywhere in the battlefield. If you want over 1,000 rounds per minute, 200% crit hit damage, and near instant reload speed with your LMG, this is the perfect build for you. For the specialization, I'm using Gunner because it provides 10% armor on kill, every third reload is 50% faster, you gain ammo over time, and you also gain access to the Banshee Pulse skill. For my primary weapon, the Iron Lung Exotic LMG Expertise 17. Max weapon damage, 12% damage to targets out of cover, and 6% damage to armor with the Ardent talent. Shooting heats up the weapon, filling up a heat meter. When the meter is full, round shot by this weapon will ignite enemies. For the secondary, Rock and Roll ACS 12 shotgun with max shotgun damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover with the perfectly extra talent, extending the shotgun's magazine size to 30. This shotgun is a monster when you have max RPM and crit damage stacks. My first piece of gear, Umbra Initiative mask with 1 skill tier, crit chance, and a max crit chance mod. Collectively, Umbra Initiative offers 15% extra crit hit chance, 30% reload speed, and From the Shadows and Into the Light as the talent. With From the Shadows, you gain 20 stacks per second up to 100, with each stack giving you 1% crit hit damage and 0.3% rate of fire when you're in cover. Once you leave cover, you start stacking Into the Light, which stacks 10 stacks per second up to 50, with each stack giving you 0.8% armor regeneration. This means you'll constantly be rotating these talents to give you insane DPS when you're out of cover and the ability to regen armor when you get back into cover. Next, Umbra Initiative chest piece with 1 skill tier, crit damage, and a crit chance mod with the From the Shadows buff, which increases max stacks for From the Shadows from 50 to 100 and stack gain from 10 to 20 per second. For the holster, the named Picaros holster providing 10% skill haste and 1 extra skill tier thanks to the Ninja Bike Backpack. I have max armor, crit chance, and 15% extra weapon damage. For the backpack, I'm using the exotic Ninja Bike Backpack, which provides all 3 core attributes: max weapon damage, max armor, and 1 skill tier. The Resourceful talent lets you slot in this backpack with any brand set or gear set to help you unlock an extra bonus, and it will unlock multiple bonuses simultaneously. Next, the named Contractor's Gloves, which provide 10% LMG damage and 15% weapon handling as the 2-piece bonus. For the stats, max weapon damage, 8% damage to armor, and 12% crit hit damage. Lastly, Umbra Initiative knee pads with max armor and crit hit chance. For the skills, I have a tier 4 booster and a tier 4 Banshee Pulse. This booster plays a crucial role on this build because the reload speed and weapon handling buff synergizes well with the 30% reload speed buff on the Umbra Initiative gear set to help you achieve 70% reload speed when you're in combat. The extra skill tiers also drastically increase the radius of your booster hive, making you way more efficient in combat. A tier 4 Banshee Pulse is also very powerful, providing more range, a wider radius, and a longer confused duration on your enemies. This next LMG build combines the strongest LMG brand sets with some of the best performing talents in the Division 2 to create a build with insane DPS capabilities. The main weapon on this build is the Black Market RPK with the Strained talent. Up until Title Update 20, I never really used the RPK as much, but I have to say after receiving a 20% base weapon damage buff, it's become one of the highest DPS weapons in the entire game. Aside from the damage, the RPK is an extremely versatile weapon because it performs well even at long ranges with barely any damage drop off. To take this weapon to the next level, I combine the 3-piece Lengmo brand set with the Contractor's Gloves and the picaros holster to add 82% extra weapon damage to the RPK. For even more DPS, you have Obliterate, which stacks your weapon damage by 1% every time you crit, stacking up to 25 times, and the Perfect Unstoppable Force talent, which increases your weapon damage by 7% per enemy killed, stacking up to 5 times. This means you can add an additional 60% weapon damage to your build when both talents are maxed out. Thanks to the RPK's high damage, you'll be able to destroy enemies very quickly, allowing you to achieve max damage buffs in a very short amount of time. With this build, a stronger offense is an even better defense, which means positioning and timing is very important if you want to be as efficient as possible. One of the best talents to use with the RPK is Strained. This talent shines the most on weapons that have a slower fire rate, since you gain 50% extra crit hit damage within 2 seconds of firing, allowing you to maintain that crit damage buff for majority of your RPK's magazine. This build is all about raw damage, and with the right strategy, nothing will be able to stop you. For the specialization, I'm using Gunner because it provides 10% armor on kill, every third reload is faster, and you regen ammunition over time. My main weapon is the Black Market RPK Expertise 12. Max weapon damage, 10% damage to targets out of cover, and 9% crit hit damage. For the talent, Strained. Gain 10% crit hit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing. On this build, I currently have 57% crit hit chance and nearly 150% crit hit damage, which means once you stack Strained on the RPK, you can reach up to 200% crit hit damage. For my secondary, the Exotic Scorpio Shotgun. This weapon is incredible for elites and named enemies since each shot stacks different status effects. Once you reach max stacks at 7, the target will take 20% extra damage from all sources. For my mask, the first Lengmo brand set piece out of the 3 on this build. You can see here that the 3-piece bonus provides 30% extra LMG damage, which is the main reason to use this set. I have armor, crit damage, crit chance, and a max crit damage mod. Next, Cheska chest piece to help you get as close to max crit chance as possible. This chest piece provides 10% extra crit hit chance. I have max weapon damage, crit chance, and crit hit damage with a max crit chance mod. And for the talent, Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. For the holster, the named picaros holster, max armor, crit chance, and 15% extra weapon damage. Next, the named Lengmo backpack with weapon damage, crit damage, weapon handling, and max crit hit damage mod with the Perfect Unstoppable Force talent, which increases your weapon damage by 7% for 15 seconds for each enemy you kill, stacking up to 5 times. This means after 5 kills, you'll add 35% extra weapon damage to your RPK, in addition to the 25% weapon damage you're getting from Obliterate. Next, the named Contractor's Gloves, which provide 10% LMG damage. And for the stats, max weapon damage, 8% damage to armor, and 12% crit hit damage. Lastly, Lengmo knee pads with max armor, crit chance, and crit hit damage. For the skills, I'm using the booster hive to increase my reload speed a bit, protect me from status, and provide some extra weapon handling. And also the scanner pulse is great because it helps me locate targets, and it makes it easier to reposition or plan a flank. This last LMG build combines bleed, burn, and hollow point rounds to help you melt enemy health bars. When you combine the Iron Lung Exotic LMG, the ongoing Directive gear set, and the Wicked talent, you create a setup with high DPS and incredible crowd control. With ongoing Directive, each time you kill a status affected enemy, you add hollow point rounds to your Iron Lung LMG. These hollow point rounds apply bleed to your targets and also amplify your weapon damage by 35%, thanks to the Parabellum rounds talent on the ongoing Directive chest piece. This means you'll immediately apply bleed on hit, and after a short amount of time, your targets will also ignite, eliminating their ability to shoot back or stay in cover. The ongoing Directive gear set fits well on an LMG build because you also gain 30% reload speed, which is always appreciated for LMGs, obviously. The quicker you're able to reload your mag, the more DPS opportunities you will have. This build also has the Wicked talent, which increases your weapon damage even further by 18% every time you apply bleed or burn, stacking on top of the 35% amplified damage from the Parabellum rounds. I also added the Coyote's Mask to this build to help increase crit chance and crit damage whenever I can. When you're fighting enemies up close within 15 meters, for example, you can expect a 25% crit hit damage buff, and when you're shooting from range, your crit chance will always be maxed out. Collectively, this build offers a handful of perks for your agent: high rate of fire, quick reload speed, bleed and burn applied on hit, and Parabellum rounds to help you crush your enemies. For my specialization, I decided to go with Sharpshooter, and honestly, it's been working out pretty well for me. For starters, you gain 15% increased weapon stability, reduced recoil, and faster ADS speed. Armor kits completely remove status effects from your agent, and you also unlock the Flashbang Grenade, which is an easy way to CC enemies and activate Wicked. For my primary weapon, the Iron Lung Exotic LMG Expertise 17. Max weapon damage, 12% damage to targets out of cover, and 6% damage to armor with the Ardent talent. Shooting heats up the weapon, filling up a heat meter. When the meter is full, round shot by this weapon will ignite enemies. For my secondary, military M870 shotgun Expertise 15 with max shotgun damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover with the Sadist talent, which amplifies weapon damage even further by 20% to bleeding enemies. My first piece of gear is the Exotic Coyote's Mask with max weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage with a crit chance mod with the Pack Instincts talent. This talent provides crit chance and crit damage buffs based on the distance of the last enemy you hit. After that, ongoing Directive chest piece with max armor, crit hit damage, and a crit chance mod with the Parabellum rounds talent, which increases hollow point weapon damage to 35%. The ongoing Directive gear set as a whole provides 15% status effects, 30% reload speed, and the Rules of Engagement talent. This talent fills your weapon with hollow point rounds every time you kill a status affected enemy. These hollow point rounds apply bleed on hit and amplify your weapon damage by 35% thanks to the Parabellum rounds chest piece buff. Next, ongoing Directive holster with armor and crit hit chance. For the backpack, Petrov Defense Group, which provides 10% LMG damage. I have weapon damage, crit hit damage, 10% status effects, and max crit hit chance with the Wicked talent, which increases weapon damage by 18% for 20 seconds when you apply a status effect. Next, ongoing Directive gloves with armor and crit hit damage. And lastly, ongoing Directive knee pads with max weapon damage and crit hit chance. For the skills, I'm using the booster hive to increase my reload speed and to give me better weapon handling. And I also have the scanner pulse to help me locate enemies and make it easier to reposition or even plan a flank. Thank you all so much for watching the entire video and sticking around until the end. Did you miss my last video by chance? I uploaded the top 3 best tank builds for the Division 2. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely like that one. I'll put a link at the top of the screen right now for anyone that's interested. If you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more Division 2 videos just like this one, I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and turning on those bell notifications so you are notified every time I drop a new video.